How's it going? Happy Thursday to you. I wanted to go ahead and give this a shot, so I'm going to just kind of see if anybody has any questions around hiring Magento developers or getting work as a Magento developer. Maybe you're a freelancer, you have some questions. I noticed a few things yesterday that I thought were good questions that I'll start off with. And if anybody pops in, oh, cool. Looks like Joe Constant is in the house. What's up, buddy? So if anybody has any questions, just ask them there in Periscope. I'm not watching the YouTube comments because there's just too much going on at once to see those. But if you have a question on Periscope, you can just fire it away. So, by the way, is my audio even connected? Yeah, I think it is. Okay, cool. Sometimes the mic does weird stuff. So yeah, any questions around Magento development work, hiring, that kind of a thing? I saw a good question the other day, actually, from my buddy Paras Sood on Twitter, who was asking how to price. Let's say you're doing some work for a client and you've done something before. You've built something before and you're trying to figure out how to price that out for them. So you did some work for one client and then another client comes along and wants you to do something pretty similar. And he got some good response on Twitter. So I was thinking a little bit about that. And I think that you kind of, there's kind of a spectrum between consulting work and product work. So on the product end of the spectrum, you're charging for work that you're charging for work you've done in the past. So you've done a bunch of work to build a product, and the amount you're charging has nothing at all to do with the nominal amount of time it takes you to get that new customer or client up and running. On the other end of the spectrum with consulting work, you're charging, just purely for your time. And I'm generally a fan of charging hourly for work, or day rate, week rate, monthly rate, whatever, as opposed to doing fixed bid estimates. But I think, maybe what could make sense in this case, if you've built something very similar in the past for a different client, you might want to try to go fixed bid on that for the next client. Now, of course, you want to make sure that legally you're able to sort of repurpose the stuff that you did in the past. But even if you're not repurposing code, strictly speaking, like you've thought through those problems before, which is like 90% of the work anyways. So I think that might be a scenario where it makes sense to charge fixed bid, because for the client number two, let's say the fixed bid estimate is $10,000. Now it might only take you, 10 hours to do. So your effective hourly rate is like really high. But if you already did the work to figure all the things out for the past client, that might be a scenario where it makes sense to do fixed bid. I think fixed bid estimate can get really tricky if you're estimating something you've never done before. So I generally want to stay away from it. Estimation is really hard, or in some, a lot of people say I think it's impossible if you're estimating something you've never done before, especially in terms of software. So those are my thoughts there. Maybe consider doing, oh, cool. Just seeing some stuff on Periscope here. David Stilson, welcome. I don't think it's showing me pop-ups for everybody that's joining. Just kind of weird. Hopefully I'm seeing everything. So yeah, that might be one way to approach that. I thought that was an interesting question. Another thing I've seen come up, not really a question, but just a tip around invoicing is, I think that David Stilson, hey buddy, hey, what's going on, man? Good to have you. If you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot them out. So another one that I wanted to just throw out there is to invoice a bit more frequently. I see people a lot of times I see the hearts. That's cool. If you click on the hearts, it's pretty dope. Is if in terms of invoice frequency, at Karma Zero, we tend to default to just weekly. Like, let's just invoice as frequently as possible. a lot of times people will invoice like monthly and that kind of a thing. And there may be certain clients that that's kind of their expectation that you invoice monthly. But the issue there is that a lot of time can go by. Client doesn't know exactly what they're paying, what they're being charged for. Maybe there's a little bit of a dispute or something comes up. So I generally think that, there's a number of reasons why it's good to invoice more frequently. For one, you get paid faster. And even for the client, they have an idea. Like the faster the client can go from not knowing exactly what they're paying for to knowing what they're paying for, the better. So it's been a week and they've seen some stuff get done, and now they're going to pay whatever the week's invoice is, $1,000 or $500. That's good for them because they can get to the point a little more quickly to understand kind of what value they're getting out of it. So, weekly might be a bit much. Maybe you look at bi-weekly, but I always encourage people to invoice a little bit more frequently than maybe they're used to. And I think that can be helpful all around. So those were the couple things that I had in mind. I don't think I've gotten any additional questions, but just kind of testing this format out with the live video stream. It's a little wacky. And let me see if I had anything else on Twitter here. I don't think I'm seeing anything. So we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it short and sweet for today. Oh, cool. Comment from David here. Depending on the tech level of the client can determine the billing cycle. Yeah, definitely. It can, depending on the tech level, depending on what the size of the client, depending what they're comfortable with. You prefer, and Dave, you're saying you prefer monthly from, yeah. And I mean, look, a lot of people do prefer monthly as clients. It might make their billing workflows. It might simplify billing workflows and that kind of a thing. Just got another, Travail. What's up, man? Good to have you, dude. Yeah, that, like, I definitely understand clients can prefer monthly. That can work better. And I will say, like, I think once you have one thing I didn't say up front is once you have an established relationship with a developer or contractor, then I think that starts to work out a lot better. Particularly what I'm thinking mostly about is when their relationship is just starting out and you haven't really work together yet. You're not entirely sure whether you trust each other yet. And I think that's where invoicing a little bit more frequently can be helpful. What else? Another question I get on the hiring side of things is just a second here. Another question I get on the hiring side of things is like, hey, look, what salaries are developers kind of available for? What are people looking for? Just learning from the pros. Travail, now you're the pro, man. It varies a lot, obviously, by location and country. So I'll speak to, and we're doing some things in Europe. We're doing some things in South America, in the US. And so I'll just speak briefly to the US. We have a few recent job postings in the US. It does vary a lot. Like, you've got some really senior guys that, are already making, let's say, 135, 140 in there, working remotely and stuff like that. And, then, you also got to look at where you're looking at in the US. So somebody's, on the coast and higher cost of living areas, Los Angeles, California, New York, you're going to be, above 100 easily. People in the middle of the country, things are definitely a lot different. But again, there are people that can work remotely from lower cost of living areas and still do pretty well. There are some people, there's some people in the US and also Canada that are available in like the 70 to 90 range right now. So some solid people. So that's available. But yeah, it does vary a lot, but that's something I get asked, and I usually try to give people a sense of kind of where the market is at right now. Something we're still getting familiar with. Um, so I think that's it. I think that's all I got. Haven't gotten too many questions, but that's cool. It's just my first time trying this out. So I'll just check briefly, see if there's anything on Twitter. Nope. Okay. Thanks for checking it out. Appreciate it. Let me know if you have any questions or thoughts.